Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel. We are back again with the tips today. Quickly, let's just go through my horrific round 6. I got 3 out of 8. It was at one stage looking like it could have been worse than that. I was, at the end of the Saturday's games, I was 1 from 6. The 2 Sunday games weren't gimme tips, although luckily Sydney and Hawthorn came through pretty comfortably in the end to salvage something from the round. But yeah, terrible round. Hopefully, I feel like my tips have been getting progressively worse as the year's gone on. So hopefully I can get more than 3 this week. Surely it can't get any worse. Alright, so starting things off on the Wednesday night this week, obviously this is the Anzac Day Eve match between Richmond and Melbourne. So both teams coming off a loss, both teams coming off the bye as well. So equal opportunity to rest up and get ready for this game. Yeah, both teams very disappointing in their last matchup. Richmond obviously became the first team to lose to the Eagles, although maybe the Eagles aren't that bad, so maybe that was not too bad of a loss for Richmond. Melbourne lost to Brisbane at the MCG, a ground where Brisbane don't often win, so that's not ideal. They did have like 3 games in 11 days or something. I might be mixing that up with St Kilda. I'm pretty sure they had like a pretty short rest in between all of their previous games, Melbourne, so maybe that contributed to the loss in some way. But I think they should get the job done here. I really can't. Yeah, I think they should comfortably beat Richmond here. I can't see them dropping back-to-back games. They were in pretty good form up until that last one, and I think they're definitely a way better side than Richmond. Anzac Day footy going to be absolutely massive on the Thursday. Yeah, both teams coming into this game in good form. Essendon, they fired up after that really terrible loss to Port Adelaide, won their last 2. Probably, I think, even though there was that late call that went against Adelaide, they definitely were the better team and they did deserve to win that game. But yeah, wouldn't want to be belly flopping on the ball this week. And Collingwood, they might be back. Port Adelaide Port Adelaide came out, kicked the first 5 goals or something, up by 30 points, and then it was all Collingwood from there. They just dominated. So the Pies, they could well be back. Are they premiership contenders again? Probably a bit early to make the call on that. But should be a massive game. Should be a very close game as well. I think that this one, yeah, this will be a cracking matchup. And I'll tip Collingwood in this one. I think that they've got their mojo back. Yeah, it would be a massive crowd, probably 90,000. So yeah, I'll tip Collingwood in this one. GWS and Brisbane at Manuka Oval. So another Canberra game for the Giants. They seem to play well there. They'd want to bounce back after their first loss of the season last week. Same with Brisbane. They started off the season very poorly. Couple good wins in a row. I expected them to beat Geelong, but just couldn't get it done in the wet conditions. Just didn't look like they knew how to get it into their forward line. And I would tip GWS in this one. I think they'll bounce back. Yeah, Brisbane, they've lost their spark this year. Perhaps I'm not really sure what's happened with Brisbane. With their list that they have, they should be competing for top 4, but they're definitely not going to make top 4 now, and they may well not make finals at all. So they really need to win this game, but I think that GWS will get the job done by 17 points. Port Adelaide taking on St Kilda at the Adelaide Oval. Two very disappointing results for these teams last week. The Saints, shocking. No. They did have 3 games in 11 days, so whether that contributed to that performance at all, I'm not too sure, but it was just terrible. Just got blown away right from the start of that game. Bulldogs weren't going so well into that game, but still, the Saints just couldn't seem to put up a fight at all. And I can't see them beating Port in Adelaide. Port will want to get back on the winner's sheet after last week in front of a home crowd. Yeah, I think they'll. I was big on the Saints at the start of the year, but they've just they've really gone backwards by a long way. So yeah, the Saints won't be making the finals this year, and I don't think they'll come close to winning this game either. North Melbourne taking on Adelaide in Tasmania. Yeah, this is not going to be a big turnout. I'm pretty sure these two teams got 5,000, a crowd of 5,000 when they played in Tasmania a couple years back, and North Melbourne have only gone backwards since then. They are absolutely terrible right now. Got smashed by the 17th ranked team in Hawthorn. Winless to start off the season. Only team that hasn't won a game yet, and they just look like they have no fight, no passion. They've just given up pretty much. That there is no such thing as a winning culture at North Melbourne right now. And I think Adelaide, after dropping one that they really should have won, arguably they were robbed from, they'll fire up and they will smash North Melbourne. I think they'll come out and win comprehensively, 67 points. I'm going to put my gauntlet tip on AFL tipping on Adelaide, because I don't think that North Melbourne are beating anyone right now. Geelong versus Carlton, blockbuster matchup. Geelong are the only undefeated team now. Every other team has lost a game except Geelong. At the MCG against Carlton, they've been robbed of a home game because of that. That's really an injustice on their part, but they don't seem to care about that. Back in 2022, their premiership year, they won games at the MCG. They're a dominant team at that ground, and they look pretty good right now. I think they're the premiership favourites, definitely, and I'm going to tip them to win this game, I reckon. Yeah, I think that Carlton just have a few too many injuries now, and Geelong will take advantage of that, and they will put past a 17-point win against Carlton and continue their unbeaten streak. Fremantle versus Bulldogs, and how far have Fremantle fallen since that 3-0 start? 2 close losses against Carlton and Port, and then smashed in the Derby. What happened there? I did not see that coming at all. So yeah, they're in a real spot of bother. It's a home game for them. They need to win this, but I think, well, they've lost Jai Amos for this game, and I just think their forward structure is just completely non-existent. With Luke Jackson coming back in, he's no longer in the ruck. With Sean Darcy coming back in, Luke Jackson's no longer in the ruck. He's gone forward. That didn't seem to work for them last week. And Fremantle, I didn't think they'd be a very good team at the start of the year, and perhaps they overachieved in the first 3 rounds, because right now they look just completely lost when going inside 50 and trying to attack. Well, they don't attack, that's the thing. They just can't seem to score. And I think that the Dogs, they will get the job done. They belted them at Optus Stadium last year. I don't think they'll belt them this year, but I reckon the Dogs win this one. Well, about 3 weeks ago, I would have penciled this down as about a 50-60 point win for the Suns, but the Eagles are back. Harley Reid has lifted them up. They're more than a competitive side now. They've won their last 2 comfortably against Richmond and also against Fremantle. Now this is going to be a bigger test because it's away from home. Gold Coast, they aren't the greatest team themselves, but at home I think the Suns do get the job done. But I think that the Eagles will put up a big fight. In fact, I think it'll go down to the wire. I'm going to tip the Suns by 2 points. The Suns, they really, I mean, they aren't going to make finals. They're really just home track bullies at the moment. They've been smashed twice by the Bulldogs in Sydney away from home. And then also they got beaten comfortably by the Giants. That was a neutral venue. But right now they only seem to be able to win games at home. This is a home game against a team that probably still will be bottom 4. So I think they will win this game, but I also wouldn't be surprised if an upset happens here. But I think, yeah, right now to go 3 wins in a row might just be a little bit of a stretch too far for West Coast, but they are certainly back on track with their rebuild. And there's a future to get excited about for the Eagles. Final game of the round, Hawthorn Sydney. Hawks coming off their first win, Sydney coming off a dominant performance against the Suns. I believe we should win this one. There was a little while where the Hawks seemed to have, they seemed to be able to just beat us when we wouldn't expect them to, but I reckon that little phase of games has passed. I think we should win this one at the MCG. Yeah, good. We had the week off coming into that game against Gold Coast, and probably a much needed week off. We looked very scratchy in our loss to Richmond, and then even the week after against West Coast. So it probably was a good time to just have a bit of a reset. And yeah, we looked better off for it. Absolutely smashed the Suns after half time. Isaac Heaney is still going absolutely magnificently. He has to be leading the Brownlow right now. He's leading the coaches' votes by 20. That is ridiculous. So he has had, he's clearly the best player in the competition right now. Hasn't scored less than 100 in AFL fantasy. Just an absolute gun. And I think that we should win this one against the Hawks. So that is round 7 done. So as you can see there, Geelong on top of the ladder, Sydney up in second position again, GWS and Port Adelaide rounding out the top 4. Melbourne, Carlton, Bulldogs and Collingwood back into the top 8. That's 4 wins in a row for them now that I've got them down for. Suns just outside on 4 and 3, although I think that ladder position is a bit generous for them. Essendon, Fremantle outside of the top 8 now. Brisbane, Adelaide, St Kilda all the way down to 14th, and the bottom 4 looking more or less the same. West Coast, Richmond, North, Hawthorn and North Melbourne right at the bottom there. The terrible percentage and no wins to their name. So that'll be the video over and done with. I hope you did enjoy. Please comment down your tips below. Should be a very interesting round. I'm hoping to get at least 5 or 6. I'd be happy with 5 or 6 tips this round. Got 4 the week before and 3 last week, obviously. So I need to regain a bit of form in the tips. Not been going great lately. So yeah, if you did like the video, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.